wait a minute. No. I didn't say she had brain damage. She had a serious health episode. And my point was that from, I think it was the 7th of December in 2012 through the 7th of January of 2013, she underwent, first she had apparently a serious virus. They announced then on the 15th of December that she had, at some period in the past a week, fallen. They didn't say when, they didn't say where. She was recovering at home. On the 30th of December, she goes in and turns out to have had a blood clot. They won't say where. The next day, they say it is between her skull and her brain behind her right ear.
All right, folks. Karl Rove making news earlier this week. And joining us to talk about that and so much more is Sheinkopf, Newsmax contributor. As I say, good to see you. All right, what do you think of this? Because, well,
what do I think of it? I think Karl Rove needs to trade in that medical degree he doesn't have for something else. Because last I looked, he's not a doctor. So how he's an expert on all these things is quite extraordinary. Why don't we just create another idiotic conspiracy for people to run around that the Clintons again are hiding? It didn't work in the 90s. It didn't work with Whitewater. It didn't work here. It's not going to work. End of discussion.
Well, in Whitewater, a lot of people surrounding the Clintons went to jail and were convicted. So, you know.
Two.
Well, the McDougalls and
one McDougal, two McDougal. Next.
And Webb Hubbell went to jail in the Rose Law Firm thing. I mean, so I'm just saying. I'm right. Nothing stuck to the Clintons back then. But all he's saying, he's bringing up the health issue.
Right.
She's going to be 69, and she had this health problem. In fact, let's listen to Bill Clinton, who inadvertently, and this led Bill Kristol yesterday to say that Bill Clinton can't shut up, and he's going to wind up helping the Republicans, because he revealed that this recovery period for Hillary went on for 6 months. Let's listen and watch.
I was sort of dumbfounded. They went to all this trouble to say that she had staged what was a terrible concussion that required 6 months of very serious work to get over. Something she never lowballed with the American people, never tried to pretend didn't happen.
All right, so we find out that it was six months of recovery. Today there's a story by an ophthalmologist, a New York ophthalmologist, says that the glasses that Hillary was wearing when she was seen at the hearings are used to treat double vision, which is sometimes caused by severe head trauma. Yeah. I mean, is it unfair to bring up the fact that we want to see her health records eventually?
I think that this is a brilliant PR strategy. I think Karl Rove is very smart for leading it off. He's the right spokesperson to find another way to make Hillary topple a bit so that she can become more likely to be defeated or at least show feet of clay. Very smart. I'm not an expert on medicine, but I am an expert on public relations and politics. And this is a very smart strategy because she's right now running away with it, okay? And the way to knock it down is to prove that she's unhealthy. And
I thought you were going to be. I thought you were being facetious.
I'm being serious. This is a brilliant PR strategy.
You think what Karl Rove did is brilliant?
I do.
You're not kidding me. You're not putting me on.
No, I'm serious. Look, I have tremendous regard for him and respect for him. He's a political professional. He's done some pretty amazing things. This is brilliant because if you can't beat her on the facts, beat her on what's not facts, and set it up early so that she doesn't look as invincible. Very smart.
All right. So, do you personally think that? I mean, all I'm saying is I'd like to see her health records if she runs. Like I'd want to see any of their health records.
I think they all should show their health records when and if she runs, and any other candidate runs should reveal their health records. Dwight Eisenhower was at the time the oldest person serving in the White House. We knew a lot about his health because he was in Cecilian Hospital with heart disease. Right. Why? He had been a smoker. He'd been under tremendous stress. He's a great hero of the American people. We knew it. We don't know a lot about these other people.
All right. Very, very interesting. All right. Now let's move on and let's hit number 36. Watch this one.
And they established the fact that whether it was right or wrong in the past, secretaries of state never were involved directly in these security decisions. And they also have untangled what was an early mystery at Benghazi when all we knew was that 4 people were killed, and we know now 2 of them were heavily armed CIA contractors who were military combat veterans, and they were part of a group of 20 authorized to provide security, among other things, where they were in Benghazi.
All right. So what now? I think it was fascinating because this is there were a lot of answers that we analyzed in the previous hour with Rich Miniter, and I think this is what the Clintons are going to say. This is what Hillary's going to say. We got a glimpse of this, and among them, first was that report that came out where that all these recommendations are being implemented. Of course, Hillary wasn't talked to for that report. Neither were a lot of people. But here he's saying traditionally secretaries of state have nothing to do with providing security. And by the way, 2 of the men who were killed were well armed, and they were part of a group of 20 that were in the area to protect them. So now we're hearing there was security, 2 of them were well armed, and by the way, Hillary has nothing to do with providing security. So is that going to fly? That line of defense?
I will guarantee you the following, that if the Republicans have a full-blown, and they intend to do this, Benghazi investigation that does not provide direct links, they will make Hillary Clinton the president of the United States.
You said that last time, yeah.
And I believe it very strongly. So go ahead. This is kind of, if you have the goods, show up. If you don't have the goods, shut up. It's really simple. They're going to make her the president. Keep it up.
But I mean, I don't think the purpose of the Benghazi hearings are to necessarily pin it all on Hillary. They want to know where the president was. They want to know why the military was told to stand down and not go try to rescue these people. They want to know why after the Red Cross left and there were postings on Al-Qaeda's webpage that they were going to get Stevens, why he was allowed to be there unprotected. I mean, these are legitimate questions, no?
I think these are legitimate questions, but ultimately, let's be real, we're all adults. This is about trying to stop her and slow her down. And concomitantly, the timing of everything is always interesting because politics is all about timing. Let's call her sick. Let's call her incompetent. Let's do something with her period of time as Secretary of State. Come on, what are we talking about?
All right. Let's move on and let's talk about the New York Times.
Yes.
Now I want you to watch this. This is number 17. Let's all watch and listen.
Ken Auletta is clearly a terrific reporter, so I trust him and I trust his sources.
He's going to be on this morning.
Yeah. 2, the aspect of equal pay that you've raised that is clearly part of the body of this story. As with so many other things, the hypocrisy, an element of hypocrisy in the news business, maybe Arthur Sulzberger ought to read his own editorials.
All right. The claim by Jill Abramson, or those around her, because I don't think she's come out and spoken to this point yet, is that she went to her bosses, and after she found out she was being paid as much as her predecessor, or maybe not even being paid as much as a man in a position under her at the paper, and because of that, the New York Sulzberger decided to fire her. What the Times has been saying, officially or unofficially, is that the paper hasn't been doing well. She's impossible to get along with. She's not a good leader. She's this, she's that, and that's why we fired her. I'm just sitting back and watching, them eat their own because, well, what's your read on what happened to Jill Abramson?
First of all, Ken Auletta is the premier media reporter in the country,
and he reported that it was a money that unequal pay
and when
issue.
Ken Auletta writes something about media, we ought to pay attention to what he says. Number 1. Number 2. The New York Times does have financial troubles, but so does all print media. This is not new. But it is kind of hypocritical to go in and take a woman out of the newsroom after your editorial page says women, 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 gender, gender, gender. And now the war on women that the Democrats keep talking about has actually been done by the Democratic outlet and for the world.
Well, of course, it's also been done by the Obama White House. And when they were called on it, Jay Carney said, well, there are a lot of factors that go into what people are paid. Well, isn't that true here too?
This is what I call immunity by phony progressivism. Okay, if you're a so-called progressive, you can do whatever you want. You get immunity from prosecution.
By phony progressivism. All right, yeah, but okay, so you feel the New York Times could be guilty of this, but aren't we setting up, and I'd love to see them, like I said, I'd love to see them eat their own, but isn't this just show the fallacy of this equal pay for equal work thing? Just because you hold a position that someone else held doesn't mean you're going to get the same amount of money that person had.
There is a management prerogative to manage.
Right.
Okay, but then don't set the expectation. We don't know enough to make that judgment. We do know what Auletta has written. And if Auletta writes something in a company...
No, but if it's true. So if she's making less than the person before her, it was also pointed out that there are different parts of the total package. That man was there longer, so he had a bigger 401k. Right. He had different benefits. She just came in. He had been there prior. Right. So these are all the factors that go into this equal pay for equal work, equal title, equal pay, showing how erroneous an issue it is.
But this is about something else, though. You may be correct, but this is about something else.
I may be crazy.
Anyway. You may be just
like
a lunatic.
Right.
But no, I would step back and say, look, what this is really probably about for many people looking at this saying, wait a second, the New York Times, shame on you. You're really, full of junk.
I caught that.
Shame on you. You're full of junk. Okay,
Yeah.
because if you really loved women and you cared about women's rights, you cared about this, you do the right thing as we define it. Management has a prerogative. Keller had been there for a longer period of time. She was a brilliant reporter. And if anybody tries to take that away from her, they would be unfair altogether. Obviously, the boss didn't like her, but you don't fire her this way, because what you do is create more controversy. So what Arthur Sulzberger could use is a lesson in crisis management PR, and people in my business would be happy to teach him how to do that.
I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe they should, if this is true and she wasn't paid as much, maybe they should just take his paper away and make sure his family sells all their shares too. Pull a Donald Sterling, you know?
I happen to agree with you. That's you know, it's not the way to do things. You just can't take people's property away because you decided so.
Because you don't like what they said. All right, let's go quickly to the IRS. You know, Judicial Watch.
Sure.
They're becoming the government, and they're becoming the media.
Sure.
Although the media doesn't care what they got. They got the smoking gun memo that led to this select committee
Sure.
being appointed, and now in the IRS they got these emails addressed, or at least copied, to Lois Lerner and others, showing and saying that Washington is coordinating with Cincinnati and Tea Party, and I don't have everything in front of me. We did discuss this with the Judicial Watch Chief Counsel yesterday, and basically what it shows is this was not just, as the president said, a couple of rogue idiots, you know, in Cincinnati on their own. This was coordinated in Washington. It was targeting Tea Partiers, and no wonder Lois Lerner wants a fifth.
It's pretty clear that Richard Nixon had nothing on Barack Obama when it comes to these kinds of behaviors. Why don't you just use the government to shut your opponents down? And that's exactly what happened here.
You keep giving me quotes to write down. Richard Nixon had nothing
On Barack Obama, he's used the government for his own purposes.
So you believe that he's doing that?
I think that this is absolutely outrageous. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. You know, Nixon paid the price for it. Obama's people have not paid a price for it. The use of this government for political purposes, indicting Michael Grimm, whether you like him or not. As a Democrat, I say this, right before the period of time he can't get off the ballot. Timing is everything in politics.
Well, didn't Barack Obama win his first election by getting a woman taken off the ballot?
Listen, you know what? This is called immunity from prosecution by phony progressivism.
All right, so is Hillary going to run and say, I am against this abuse of the IRS and using it for political purposes. I will make sure it doesn't happen again. Will she do that?
I don't know. I'm not arguing for
No.
Hillary.
I'm just curious. You know,
I can't read into people's minds. What I
but
do
would
know
you
is
advise
that,
her to do it in your
Would I advise
capacity?
her to do it? I advise her not even go near this thing. What I would advise people following is to pay attention to what government's doing. This government has too much power and is interfering in the lives of too many Americans too often, and with too little oversight.
All right, this is going to be quick. Could we go with Eleanor Clift on this show, cut 16? Well, would you like to take that back or redo the answer?
No,
because,
I don't. No,
all right, well, what
no,
about the people at 9/11 who were incinerated, or some died of smoke inhalation, or some jumped, some disintegrated? Were they not murdered?
I was just trying to add a little bit of complexity, and I'm going to stick with what I
So
said.
okay, so you don't think if someone sets your building on fire with the intent to attack you and you die in the fire, smoke inhalation, or being burned to a crisp, you're not murdered? I don't get
I
it.
realize this causes a lot of emotion. As I said, I'm going to just stick with the.
Well, then what? All right, so she says, we got less than 30 seconds. She
Sure.
says Ambassador Stevens wasn't murdered. He died of smoke inhalation.
He was murdered, and that's the way it is. And you know what? You can call it anything you want, but you know, he was murdered by terrorists, and those people should be brought to justice by U.S. Marshals and tried in this country for murdering Americans.
I'm with you. Hank, always great to see
Thank
the
you.
great Hank Sheinkopf, ladies and gentlemen, right here in our Newsmax studios. When we come back, Andrew Bostom. Wait till you hear this story.